Long ago, in the hills of Zorah, within the land of Israel, there lived a man named Manoah and his wife. They were kind and faithful people, but a deep sadness filled their home because they had no children. The house was quiet and their hearts were heavy. One day, while the woman was sitting alone in the garden, a brilliant light suddenly flashed before her, brighter than the noonday sun. A heavenly messenger appeared, his face glowing with a divine radiance. The angel spoke gently to her, saying, "Do not be afraid, you have been chosen. You will conceive and give birth to a son. This child will be a Nazirite to God from the womb to the day of his death. He will begin to save Israel from the hands of the Philistines." The angel gave her one strict command that would determine the boy's destiny. No razor may ever touch his head, for his hair is the secret to his strength. When the baby was born, they named him Samson. As he grew from a baby into a child, it became clear that the Spirit of the Lord was moving him. Even as a small Samson, he was unlike other children. While other boys played with wooden toys, Samson could lift heavy farm tools and move boulders that blocked the path. His hair grew long and thick, braided into 7 locks that flowed down his back. People whispered that he had the strength of a giant inside the body of a boy. One day, as a young man, Samson was walking toward the vineyards of Timnah. Suddenly, a young lion came roaring out of the bushes, ready to attack him. The beast was massive, with sharp claws and terrifying teeth. Samson had no sword, no spear, and no shield, but the Spirit of the Lord came upon him with power. He faced the lion fearlessly, and with his bare hands, he tore the lion apart as easily as one would tear a young goat. He continued on his journey, realizing that as long as he kept his vow to God, nothing could stand in his way. Samson became a judge over Israel, protecting his people for 20 years. The Philistines, the enemies of Israel, hated him. They sent armies to capture him, but he defeated them every time. Once, he picked up the heavy bronze gates of a city, put them on his shoulders, and carried them to the top of a hill. The Philistines realized they could not defeat him with weapons. They had to use a trap. Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah in the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers saw their chance. They went to Delilah secretly and placed bags of silver coins on her table. They whispered, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength. Find out how we can tie him up and subdue him, and we will each give you 1,100 shekels of silver." Delilah, blinded by greed, agreed to betray the man who loved her. The next time Samson visited, Delilah began her interrogation. She begged him to tell her the secret of his strength. 3 times Samson teased her with lies, and 3 times he broke free from her traps. Finally, she said to him, "How can you say I love you when you won't confide in me?" Day after day, she prodded him with her words until he was tired to death. Finally, he told her everything. "No razor has ever been used on my head," he said, "because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me." Delilah knew he had finally told the truth. That night, she made him sleep on her knees. She called for a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. As the hair fell to the floor, his strength left him. The Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza to grind grain in the prison. However, the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. In the darkness of the prison, Samson's heart began to change. He humbled himself. Sometime later, the Philistine rulers gathered to offer a great sacrifice to their god Dagon. The temple was packed with thousands of people. They brought Samson out of the prison to mock him. He stood there, blind and humiliated, while the crowds laughed. He asked the young servant who was leading him, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple." Samson placed his hands on the 2 central pillars. He prayed to the Lord, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please God, strengthen me just once more." Samson braced himself against the pillars and pushed with all his might. The stone cracked, the ground shook, and with a thunderous crash, the temple collapsed. In his death, he destroyed more enemies than he had while he lived, proving that his strength was never really in his hair, but in the God who gave it to him.